speak much more than 10 minutes to an audience standing, you're bound to lose them. So I'm going to try to be brief with you all, but let you know that I'm genuinely honored to be here. And I tell you what, seeing that B-2 looking over my shoulder is some sight. You know, I just want the record to note, since this press here, and when Ike said the best Air Force base in America, I clapped. I don't want anybody back in Dover getting angry. I just want you to know, we're used to those big old jobs, you know, those big old C5As and Bs. And I tell you what, you're all great. It's the first thing I want to do, though, is congratulate Technical Sergeant Townsend for his service. You know, 17,000 miles on those roads, old buddy. As my Italian friend said, that's a lot of agita. That's a lot of worry, man. Because I tell you, we have lost, as all of you know, and most Americans haven't focused on it. We have lost literally thousands of Americans. And 70% of all those who have died in Iraq and Afghanistan have been as a consequence of an IED or a projectile. The very people riding along in those convoys. And the number has exceeded now the 4,000 in Iraq and approaching 1,000 in Afghanistan. So it was no mean feat. Everyone should know. You all know in uniform know. But the people listening to this should know it is no mean feat what's going on today in Afghanistan and Iraq. It goes on as we speak. So we owe a debt of gratitude. It was a great honor, Sergeant, to be able to pin that bronze star on you. You were probably less concerned jumping in the convoy than you were coming up here on stage, but you did well. And I also want to thank my friend Ike Skelton for inviting me. You know, as you all continue and have fought for your country, you're all very fortunate to have a man like Ike fighting for you. I've never seen anybody as tenacious in fighting for his district, but more importantly, specifically, fighting for the military. Fighting for the military, including this base. He's been a long-time proponent of making sure that life is better, not only for you, that you're equipped and you have all you need, but that life is better on the base for you as well as your families. You know, there's an old expression, those also serve who stand and wait. An awful lot of your families, when you saddle up, they're left behind, worrying about what's going to happen, worrying about how it's going to take place. Those of you who are deployed on the ground, they're left alone for periods of time. And, you know, Mike has supported better military pay, better military health care, better military education, better lives for the men and women in uniform, and no less important than their families. The families are never left out when Mike starts talking about and appropriating the money needed for the United States military. And the Skelton name is synonymous with a deep commitment to the armed services, embodied by the Naval Reserve Building, bearing his father's name, Mike's dad's name. And a Child Development Center named for his late wife, who I knew well, and a wonderful woman, Susan. And his work on your behalf is exactly what we need, the President and me, to ensure that we maintain the absolute best equipped military in the world. You are, as the Commander and I were talking about, you are the premier military not only in the world today, but it is not hyperbole to suggest in the history of the world. And anybody who tells me start talking about this generation, I just say, come with me. Come with me and look. Come with me into the mountains of Afghanistan. Come with me up the Konar Valley. Come with me into the multiple cities I've been into in Iraq in the middle of this war. Come to me, with me, 15 years ago and 10 years ago in Bosnia. And you'll see your generation are the most powerful, best disciplined, best trained warriors America has ever produced. And for that, I thank you and we owe you. And that is not an exaggeration. folks, to the President, the Secretary of State, and me, when I say we owe you, these are not idle phrases. When we say we owe you, we mean it more than just a nice salutation. That's why we're working so hard to improve the quality of life on bases all across America. Here at Whiteman, that means why we're here with $17.8 million investing in modernizing the facilities and generally improving the quality of life. And that's why the Recovery Act you hear so much about includes more than $7 billion. In addition to the regular budget, more than $7 billion for military construction projects. Breaking ground on hospitals, child care centers, better housing. That's why we fought so hard for the most expansive GI Bill since the end of World War II, to make college more affordable. All in all, this administration is wholly devoted to serving the brave women and men in uniform. As you sacrifice to serve our country, we should do a little sacrifice serving you. But our commitment doesn't end when your time at this base ends. All of you will one day be veterans. And our commitment extends to veterans as well, because they have been forgotten a lot the last 8 years, last 15 years. President Obama and I are proud that in our first budget, in these very tough times, we've increased funding for veterans to the tune of $25 billion. Increased funding for veterans to the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's never happened before. It's the biggest budget increase in the generation. And when we proposed it, people said, how can you do that in the midst of this economy? And our response is, how can we not do that? How can we not do that? Over 15,000 of the wounded coming home, not to count the fallen angels, came home to be buried. The life expectancy of 15,000 of those well over 30,000 who've been wounded is going to be somewhere in the tune of 35 years. But of that, roughly 15,000 will need the most modern medical health care for the rest of their lives. The cost of that will be in the tens of billions of dollars. But it's a sacred commitment. The only sacred commitment a nation has is to prepare those we send, equip them with all they need, care for whatever their needs are when they come home. Ladies and gentlemen, we dramatically increase health care coverage, providing adequate resources to give 5.5 million veterans timely and high-quality health care. We expand health care eligibility, bringing 500,000 new veterans into the VA system. And just 15 years ago, as I can tell you, the talk was that we're going to close VA hospitals and fold them in. Remember that, Ike? Well, in the end, we're providing services to veterans with the efficiency and quality they deserve, and keeping that deep debt that we owe, that you should have a right to demand. I believe, as I said, there's only one sacred obligation, one. To come before all others. You care deeply for everyone, Republicans and Democrats alike, all those of us who serve. Care deeply for every man and woman who cares deeply enough to serve this country so honorably, which includes every one of you in this hangar. We owe you a particular obligation today, because to the tens of thousands of men and women who have already fought and continue to fight bravely for our country in Afghanistan and Iraq,